What is behind you? That is art, man. That is.
Man, you know what? I saw some one of these Zoom calls, and Michael J. Fox had, cool artwork behind him, and I was like, I'm gonna stand in front of my buddy Jacob's picture.
Okay. Well,
Well,
here,
painting, should I say?
here's what I'll do, man. Check this out. How about this, man? Hey,
Very,
how about this? Taj
yeah,
Mahal.
that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Crescent monkeys. Oh, oh, here we go. This is a good one.
Rich Pryor.
Um,
He's talking to you.
talking to me. Great. I think we should go with the no background. Well, first of all, thank you for making the time to have this conversation in the midst of a challenging time for all of us, but also I think a time for work and a time for both drawing in and also thinking about getting ready to put it back out there again. That's how
Yeah.
I feel.
Well,
So,
this, like we were talking about, this is a really difficult time for a lot of people. And I'm very happy to have this conversation with
yeah,
you because we're isolated, and I've been dying to talk to somebody. I've been dying to.
yeah, yeah.
Probably a lot of people are feeling that way if, they're not keeping their head above water in other ways.
I read a very interesting article in the not in the New York Times, in the Los Angeles Times. 25 people in the theater, artistic directors, actors. Um, what's the theater? What kind of theater do you hope we come back to when we can? And all kinds of things, whether it's about architecture changing, a lot about like flattening the hierarchy so that we can think about people who never could afford the theater before being able to afford it, and creating all kinds of content, site-specific theater in parks and subways and on the
Oh,
street.
cool. Okay.
And the new incoming artistic director of Playwrights Horizons, a wonderful theater dedicated to mostly new plays on Theater Row, saying that that word horizon in his title feels like what it's about. Like what can we put that's on the horizon? How can we have more people of color, more women, more disabled people, more people on the margins coming into the
Absolutely.
center and creating content? And I know we were speaking the other day about um, the sense I get when I talk to people who are connected to agencies, and I think you have this sense too, is that writers are very active right now. Like
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
is going to be that they're incubating lots and lots of stories and ideas, and that we will always and even more than ever need stories to be told to bring us back into the world. And that for actors and for artists, it's going to be a very fertile time.
In a lot of ways, this has been a real breath for humanity. And I think in this fast-paced world that we live in, for me and I, probably a lot of people, there's this anxiety, I think, that comes down because you don't feel like you have to compete with everyone, as in general, in
Yeah,
this usual like get up and burn and go fast. And I think this is making people more conscious over time and giving them time to explore all those dreams. It's just giving, hopefully, if you can see the opportunity, that this is a time that to work on your voice, to work on your confidence. I mean, a lot of acting goes into your personal life, work on, your mental health, whatever whatever thing that in your heart. I need to work on that. I'm heavy handed in this. I
yeah.
feel comfortable in this area. I need to push myself because acting is not something that you ever want to get comfortable doing.
Yeah, I think we were saying that, like, you don't want to be on the sidelines now. This is not we're not on pause,
Mm.
because the one thing we never get back is time. And don't let this time be an excuse for you not to be the best you can be, and it's a perfect time to train because what are you going to do? Watch Netflix? You should a little bit. There are a
There's only so much.
some things with Boyd Holbrook in there on Netflix, um, but this is the time to be in community, and this is the time to work on yourself so that when things open up, you're ready. I wanted to just, some people are very doubtful about, yeah, but this is such an in-person thing, acting.
Mhm.
It requires bodies to be in the same spaces, doesn't it? And of course, I would love and can't wait to get back in the room with people, and we'll do that when we can do it safely.
Mm.
And I would have been the biggest doubter of training to be an actor online. That's crazy. You can do
Mhm.
a history class or a literature class or a law class, but you can't do acting training online. I was so doubtful.
Mhm.
And I've come around through working for the last 8 weeks with students and seeing the work be so rich, so embodied. If I reach my hand out to you and say, Boyd, I want to touch your face, I think something gets transmitted, energetically.
Absolutely.
And so I thought it would be interesting to hear because we've worked in person in class.
Mhm.
We've coached in person quite a bit, but sometimes due to circumstances where you've been in one place and I've been in New York and we wanted to work together, we've done it on FaceTime or Skype. And my feeling is that it's been just as effective, but I wanted to know if you could speak to that.
I guess there's a lot of ways to break down the answer of that, because I think it's helpful in many ways. It's been very abundant in sort of the work that I am able to bring to set, but through your work and studying, um, we can work with an object, right? I can make this cup. I can make this cup anything I want to make this cup, as long as my intention is there and my focus is there. And we've done sort of the really extensive script analysis that we do, and we break that down. A lot of that is intellectual conversation to just be able to start to download this person, this individual. So first of all, just understanding this and having a partner like you, which acting is a two-way street. You need to have someone to analyze this and have this
Yeah.
conversation with. So that's extremely important to the work for me. And then, the second half of that is actually the repetition and getting that into the physicalization of your body and getting it into the anatomy of you and living that. And that's just through repetition and rehearsal. And then it gets into the age-old debate of how much do you want to do. But I like to be really prepared, because
Yeah.
I know in my heart of hearts that when I've done the right amount of preparation, I am not thrown off by anything on set.
I think you're always going to be throwing curveballs, but the preparation grounds you to have a game plan.
Absolutely.
Do you have any memories of any work we've done, like on Skype or FaceTime,
Mhm.
where the session was particularly useful or effective or fun,
Absolutely.
and then you were able to take that work and put it on camera the next day, if any?
Well, we were preparing a Walk Among the Tombstones.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Frank directed that.
Okay.
Great writer and also great director. And that's Liam Neeson film. And I was playing a recovering heroin addict. And we had come up with a lot of cool, like, little bits and bobs and details, those classic old headphones and all that. But basically, the scene was written. I come in, I remind him that I know him from AA, and I ask to sit down. I say, "Do you mind?" The line in the script is, "Do you mind?" And he says, "No." And as we were talking and working this out, it just became that we created a character that's a conscious character in a way. So what you and I were talking about and got to was that the character just sits down, takes his headphones off, gets comfortable, realizes that he's maybe being rude, and then says, "Do you mind?" And that, in my perspective and opinion, is a totally different arrangement of a scene.
Yeah.
And that's not written, and that can
Yeah.
only be done through rehearsal and
Practice, trying things
talking,
out.
and trying things out. And so, that for me was a game changer in terms of opening. Wow, if you just really keep chipping away, there's so much you can uncover here. It's that extra effort of the detective work goes a long way.
That's a nice memory. I even remember something like, maybe didn't you take the salt shaker and then said, "Do you mind?" or something? Like, was
We were working,
yeah,
like got
like
coffee.
you already took it, and then it was like, "Oh, do you mind?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Like really overstepping your bounds. Yeah.
Yeah, and what is he going to do at that point?
So, in other words, if I'm hearing you correctly, Boyd, um,
Yes.
you're not going to have less ideas whether you're in the room or on Skype or on the phone or whatever. It's a matter of your imagination and working together and coming up with stuff. Do you find that you get any less from it because it's online?
Absolutely not. Of course, it's great to be in the room, and that's preferred. But even without this COVID-19 situation going on, um, if beggars can't be choosers, however
Yeah,
you want to phrase it, if you're going from a job and you have 2 weeks, whatever in between that, how are you going to prepare? So you
yeah,
have to do what you have to do to get it done,
yeah,
or it's not going to get done. So
yeah, yeah. And what would you say to someone who's there, like, I don't know about training like this. I'd rather wait till, you
mm,
know, I can get in a room with other people.
I think there's basically two ways to do it. Either you're a child actor and you become a working actor after when you get into your adulthood, and you've learned etiquette and you've learned through osmosis to uh, play the character, know the beats, have the etiquette on set, everything.
Like you
You learn
learn
that.
on the job.
You learn on the job, or you learn that through practice and through schooling and through discipline that you would other get elsewise through osmosis, because there's no other way to do it. And I'll give you an example of that. We had a debate. I had a great opportunity to be a glorified extra in Milk, uh, directed by Gus Van Sant. And
You're more than a glorified extra. You have a couple lines and some nice scenes.
thank you. And that was a big thing to leave school, um, because the thought is, why go out and work and bomb? Possibly, maybe you'll skip through, maybe you won't, but you're not going to have the tools to have a phenomenal performance unless you're playing something very close to you. So that can actually be very detrimental to your career. So why not have delayed gratification in the situation and study? Because I did. There was a lot of things that were very surprising to me on set that I was not expecting, and I wasn't as prepared as I was by the time I finished school.
So we did 3 years of training together. Would you say it was worth it?
Life changing, and I'm not saying that because I know we're being filmed.
Like, I can see how it would help you in like a deep, or even in like Skeleton Twins, which is a fun, like there's skills, you're funny, you're dramatic. How about in like a movie like Predator, like
Mm-hmm.
an action film, or like Fugitive, which is about to come out?
Mm-hmm.
How does the training help you when like half of the script is stage directions?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's nothing wrong with being transparent that, some characters are deeper than others, and some films are more entertaining visually than narrative. So you're going to get more to chew on, and sometimes you're not. And you're going to work with green screens, for example, and going back to this trusty old cup. You're looking at a 50 yards away at a green X, and it's a monster. So, and that's all good fun, and what you can do with your mind and how to keep that focus. So it's the exact same principles. The variables change with the genre, and then it gets into the specific detail of who's crafting the film, who's the crew are involved.
So who are some of the people that you've worked with that you'd love to work with again? Directors, other actors, really memorable experiences that you've had?
I just worked with Brian Garrity. I love his work. He's as honest as it gets.
I worked with you and Brian on
and Brian for that, right?
I love Brian.
Yeah, Brian's fantastic. You know what? I'll tell you, James Mangold is a person that was so unforgiving in his desire to be specific. He reminds me of you, and you guys have a very similar idealism. It's not personal to give someone a note. Only you can make that personal. And that's, some people deal with that. I know I struggled with that early on in our training.
Yeah.
But he's very
precise,
direct and very precise. And if you just lean into that rather than lean away, it's going to flow really good. Just working with someone who is just outspoken and direct and not, this is not nothing mystical, going back to the definition of acting. It's acting truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That's it. Let's keep it that and be precise.
And how about people like Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, who you worked on a movie with?
Yeah.
What's it like to work with people who've been around a little bit longer than you, and how were those experiences for you?
What I really took away aside from being around someone who's created such long-standing work is just the professionalism.
Yeah.
And I think that seeps into the work. You're so alert. You're so on it. You're so professional in how you talk to people and how you engage with people. That's something I try to take away from Hugh. He's got like the nicest guy and in the biz reputation for a reason, because he is just stand up, boom. What are we doing? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Patrick Stewart, is watching someone do something so effortlessly, like
so easy.
Our favorite Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
It really teaches you something if you can listen to what they're doing. Yeah, I try to soak up and watch. Good artists take, great artists steal, right?
Yeah. So what's the next horizon for you? Not necessarily something you have lined up, but something you'd love to do.
I want to make a feature film next. I really want to work with actors.
Meaning direct it, write it and direct it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have someone else actually write it. I've just developed a story with them, and I'll let my moonlighting as a writer fade away, and they can actually complete it on a schedule. And then I would love to go on to direct it. I want to test out my language with another artist and with other artists.
Yeah.
I really want to take on that endeavor.
Who are some actors that you hope you can get to work with?
There's so many. We're going to do something
I would
Yeah,
like to do that. I'm hoping there's a good part for me. I'd
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like to play a bad guy if possible. A
we're going to
devil
flip the
bad
coin.
guy. Yeah.
Uh,
What about some actresses?
Actresses,
Who inspires you, and who would you love to have be your sparring partner in a scene?
man, Gina Rowlands. Yeah, I'm a big fan of her and John Cassavetes.
Of
I think
course.
the essence of that era
Yeah.
is kind of barely clinging on. How people made films and rehearsed them, and that's how they wrote a scene. There's just so many really wonderful, talented people out there. Especially, I really found that on doing Narcos, um, because there's so many Latino actors that are just, we're so, populated by American or English actors, and
Yeah.
that was, for me, was just a real eye-opening experience.
So you've been very generous with your time. If you wanted to give a young actor,
Mm,
uh, a hungry young actor, some advice right now,
right.
what would that be? Like a younger version of yourself.
Hmm. I would say that you've been harboring this light the entire time. Um, you've got to feel. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. I'm so overwhelmed, like with just the pure passion of not stopping and just being obsessed with something, from picking up on people's conversations at the coffee shop and just loving the subtleties of our human interaction and the emotional journey that everyone goes through. And especially now, you're seeing people with all this. So you must have empathy if you want to be an actor. You must
Yeah.
have the heart, a deep well that is willing to go to places and show other people that this magnificent humanity that we live in. Um, and be patient and study and learn that this is, if you love architecture or notice something great on a building, that guy or girl spent hours developing that technique to make it art. And it's, you can make art in anything all day long and whatever in your life. It's very possible to do that every day if you can just honor what you're doing.
Vision, passion, and skill and craft.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can, if you can decipher what I'm saying.
I do. I can. I mean, I'm remembering you had a very heavy Kentucky accent,
Oh yeah, I did
and
2 years of voice and speech, and
and
now I can
you worked real
finally.
hard, and now you love accents,
Oh
and
yeah,
you love phonetics, and you work with dialect coaches. And I'm just thinking about the Australian lifeguard you did in Skeleton Twins, which is a
bit
small,
nicely.
yeah,
It's
and just doing that skillfully, and that's training. They don't. That's not
it's
innate.
hours, and if I didn't do that, I would only be able to play, a couple guys from,
Hillbillies.
yeah, Appalachia,
Yeah,
occasional hillbilly here and there, and that would have been the extent of my ability.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to latch on to something, like I know with directors, for example, they're either really heavy-handed with the technical side of camera work, or they're really heavy-handed with being able to talk to an actor, but they're going to run into a rub sooner or later on one side. So you have to know what you're good at, and you need to identify what you need to work
Yeah, very wise. Last question.
on.
You are a relatively new dad. How old is Leon?
He's two. He's
Two.
two, 2.3
How
maybe.
how has, because I have a 6-year-old and he's totally changed me as a human being
Yeah.
and as a teacher, I would say. I'd say he's my best teacher. How has becoming a father affected the way you think about acting and your craft and what you do, if in any way?
you want the short answer or the long
I just
answer?
want you to cry, actually. No. The short answer, the long answer, whatever you.
Man, I before I could pretty much live on nothing and really didn't care about sort of what I needed, but having something to take care of has been the opportunity that I've always wanted to be the person I've always wanted to be.
Yes. So it makes you better. Okay. Boyd, it's always a pleasure. I can't
My
wait to
pleasure.
get back to work with you again.
Well, we've got a long road
Yeah,
still yet to
we're going to
go.
be doing it together for a long time.